D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
After an amazing third season and a crazy season finale, DC Legends of Tomorrow has come back for a season 4, with Matt Ryan as John Constantine and Jess Macallan as Ava Sharpe returning as series regulars. The rest of the current members of the Legends have also come back, including Amaya, who left the Waverider but will be back as a series regular. Over the course of 3 seasons, the crew aboard the Waverider has been constantly changing, which doesn't come as a surprise since the show was designed for a rotating cast. As this show uses its unique format and premise to introduce as many characters as possible, as members of the team, temporary allies, and villains, out of the original 9 crew members that boarded the Waverider in Season 1, only 3, Sara Lance, Ray Palmer, and Mick Rory, have stuck around throughout 3 seasons. All kinds of heroes, allies, enemies, and doppelgängers visited Legends of Tomorrow. Today, we're taking a look at the costumes worn by characters on the show to see how comic book accurate they really are. So, let's find out which Legends of Tomorrow costumes look the best. Jonah Hex. The Legends of Tomorrow Season 3 finale was a spectacle packed with stuff you can only see on Legends of Tomorrow, and crammed with characters we got to know during the season. The ones we met way back when, and the ones we said goodbye to. Among the recurring characters that helped the Legends in their fight against Malice was the infamous bounty hunter known as Jonah Hex. Jonah Hex was first introduced in Season 1 episode The Magnificent Eight, and has since popped up once each season. This time, he managed to catch the attention of Zari, and the two apparently formed a special bond. In the end, Jonah even gave Zari his hat. Speaking of hats, let's take a closer look at Jonah Hex's costume on Legends of Tomorrow and how it compares to the comics. Starting off with the most obviously physical trait Jonah Hex has is the disfigurement on the right side of his face, and it looks impressive. So right off the bat, the show got the most important feature right. When it comes to Jonah Hex's outfit, the costume is so on point. It looks authentic and awesome. Hopefully, we'll get to see Jonah more often following seasons. The Ray. During the Crisis on Earth X event, we were introduced to Ray Terrell, a superhero from Earth X and boyfriend, now husband, of Citizen Cold. Ray originated on Earth 1, where he received his light-based powers from his Earth X doppelganger. At some point, Ray traveled to Earth X and joined the Freedom Fighters. So far, Ray has appeared only in 2 episodes of the crossover, but we're hoping to see him more often in the upcoming seasons. Until then, there's an animated series, Freedom Fighters, The Ray, that we'll just have to do for now. But let's get back on track. We're here to take a closer look at the costume worn by the Ray in the Arrowverse and see how it compares to the comic book design. Well, as live-action costumes go, Ray's costume is actually pretty accurate. A combination of black and yellow is found in both designs, and the pointy helmets look pretty familiar. Perhaps a few more golden yellow decorations on Ray's jacket wouldn't have hurt the design, but even as it is, Ray's costume is rather faithful to the character's comic book appearance. Just like his beloved husband, Ray is one of the best-dressed characters on Legends of Tomorrow. Dr. Midnight. In Season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow, the Justice Society of America made its Arrowverse debut, and for a moment we were really hoping these guys would get to play a major role on the show, at least for that one season. Sadly, this didn't quite come to pass, and only Vixen ended up joining the Legends aboard the Waverider. Among the other members of the Justice Society of America was Charles McNader, also known as Dr. Midnight. The character made a small number of appearances on Legends of Tomorrow, but probably won't be coming back to play a huge role in future storylines, given that he was targeted by the Dominators in 1951. As Dr. Midnight, Charles donned a red-brown costume adorned with crescent moon arranged as buttons, a pair of goggles, and a cape. While the costume was certainly not an exact replica of what we see in comic book pages, it was still one of the more accurate costumes in the Arrowverse. Obviously, changes were made, but we think they worked out for the best in this case. It's a shame that most of the members of the Justice Society of America got some really cool costumes, but didn't really have time to show them off. Obsidian. After the Legends forced Albert Einstein to reveal Melva Merrick as a ghost collaborator, the Justice Society of America intercepted them with the intention of bringing them in for questioning. Among the Justice Society of America's members was Todd Rice, also known as Obsidian. Unfortunately, Obsidian didn't get a whole lot of screen time, but he's one of the best looking heroes ever to appear on Legends of Tomorrow and Arrowverse in general. Todd Rice did pop up later in the show, but as an elderly man whose superhero days were long gone. Obsidian's costume on DC Legends of Tomorrow clearly draws inspiration from the character's look in the comics, but there is also some originality to it. Obsidian's costume has a very unique look, which made the character stand out among all the different heroes on Legends of Tomorrow, even if he didn't get a lot of attention. While the show didn't copy the comic book design to the T, it managed to give Obsidian a recognizable look with a couple of tweaks here and there to make the suit work better in live action. It would be awesome to see Obsidian in action again, and since we know he lives at least until 1987, maybe the Legends could meet up with him for a mission or two. Stargirl. In Season 2, the Legends met the Justice Society of America. Their partnership was brief, so brief in fact that it left a lot to be desired. The Justice Society of America consisted of Hourman, Vixen, Obsidian, Dr. Midnight, Commander Steel, and Stargirl. Almost every single one of these heroes had a comic book accurate costume, but Stargirl's costume has to be the most comic booky costume ever to make its way into the Arrowverse. For starters, you will notice a surprising lack of leather. The Arrowverse has been severely criticized for its abuse of leather, so it was really cool to see Stargirl in a blue spandex costume that looks as if it's been ripped straight from the pages of the comics. Out of all 6 members of the Justice Society of America, Stargirl is the one who stood out the most, and it's because the costume design was incredibly faithful to the character's look in the comics. Sure, it looked kind of campy when compared to everyone else's leather getup, and we were absolutely delighted by this campy outfit. The good news is Stargirl is still alive, so there's a chance she and her awesome costume could make another appearance. Firestorm. The Arrowverse crossover event Crisis on Earth X was an ambitious and unforgettable spectacle, one that will certainly make it tough to follow from now on. The 4-episode crossover brought together characters from across all 4 shows and packed a lot of surprises, action, humor, and headache. Sadly, we had to say our goodbyes to Firestorm. After the death of Dr. Stein, Jax decided it would be best for him to leave the team. Firestorm had been a member of the Legends from the very inception, and he will be dearly missed. Though Firestorm was underutilized and at times suffered due to less than stellar CGI, it's worth noting that his costume was as spot on as it can get. Unlike the costume Robbie Amell wore as Ronnie Raymond on The Flash, Jax's costume on Legends of Tomorrow is true to the character's comic book look. The colors are all there, albeit it is a bit darker shade, and the 4-pronged spotlight on his chest looks incredibly cool. The only major difference is that Jax doesn't wear any kind of head accessory to conceal his identity. Perhaps something similar to Wally West would have worked as just fine to Jax also. But the designers opted to leave out the mask. Even so, Firestorm is one of the best looking members of the Legends. Kid Flash. In Season 2 of The Flash, we were introduced to Joe West's estranged son, Wally West. Wally settled in Central City, moved in with his father and sister, and joined Team Flash. First time we saw Wally as Kid Flash was in the Flashpoint timeline. However, after an encounter with Alchemy, Wally managed to regain his super speed and eventually became Kid Flash. Unfortunately, the writers on The Flash never knew what to do with him, so he was transferred to Legends of Tomorrow, which turned out to be a perfect strategy. Kid Flash had been an excellent addition to the team and seemed to be more at home with the Legends than ever on the Team Flash. Wally was adorable, sweet, and a bit reckless above all, and knows how to have fun, which was just right for the team of misfits like the Legends. However, it was unfortunate that he didn't stay on for Season 4. When it comes to the costume Kid Flash wears on Legends of Tomorrow, it's probably one of the most comic book accurate costumes in the entire Arrowverse. which, like his comic book counterpart, the character on Legends of Tomorrow sports a yellow and red costume with a face mask that leaves the top of Wally's head uncovered. Vixen. Vixen was first introduced into the Arrowverse in the animated series Vixen back in 2015. The animated series follows Mari McCabe, who inherited her family's Tantu totem and thus can access the powers of animals. This version of the character also appeared on an episode of Arrow. However, the Vixen that joined the Legends wasn't Mari, but her grandmother Amaya Jue. Amaya was the guardian of Zambezi Village and a member of the Justice Society of America from the 40s. After the Reverse Flash murdered her boyfriend Rex Tyler, she decided to join the Legends to avenge his death. On the show, Amaya wears a black and yellow costume that is pretty faithful to the comic book version of the suit. While the costume on Legends of Tomorrow does have more black and less yellow compared to the costume we see in the comics, the overall design is pretty authentic. It's almost as inverse of the comic book costume and works well on TV. We can all agree that a yellow suit would look pretty ridiculous in live action. However, using a combination of black and yellow and staying faithful to the original design makes Vixen's costumes one of the best looking costumes the Arrowverse has to offer. Citizen Cold. The Arrowverse seems to be having a hard time saying goodbye to Captain Cold. In the Crisis on Earth X crossover event, we were introduced to Captain Cold's Earth X doppelganger, Leo Snart, aka Citizen Cold. Citizen Cold was one of the freedom fighters that freed our heroes from the Nazi government on Earth X. After the crossover, Citizen Cold spent time traveling with the Legends and recently helped the Flash in a fight against the Thinker. Unlike his Earth 1 counterpart, Leo is optimistic, meticulous with his planning and sticking to his plan, and possesses a very adventurous spirit and chipper disposition. When it comes to physical appearance, while Citizen Cold obviously looks the same as his Earth 1 doppelganger, he does have a better costume. Similar to Captain Cold, Leo from Earth X sports a dark parka, but this one has a fur hood which gives the character a much more comic book-like appearance. Plus, Leo's goggles are almost an identical replica of the goggles we see on comic book pages. While Citizen Cold's costume is still pretty dark, when compared to the comics, it's an improvement on Captain Cold's outfit. We're willing to give the designers points for trying, since they did manage to incorporate more details from the comic book costume this time around. John Constantine. In 2014, NBC started a show based on the Hellblazer comics, which followed the misadventures of John Constantine, the self-styled master of the dark arts. Unfortunately, the series was canceled after the season 1, but the character got to live on in the Arrowverse. Making his first appearance in the 4th season of Arrow, John Constantine has since visited Legends of Tomorrow on a number of occasions and got his own animated series. If you're a fan of the suave occult detective, rejoice because Matt Ryan has returned as Constantine in Season 4 of Legends of Tomorrow as a series regular. Matt Ryan's portrayal of the character blew us away from the very first episode of Constantine, and we love seeing him interact with the other Arrowverse characters. Ryan shares an uncanny resemblance to the comic book character, and his costume is spot on. Now, some may argue that a white shirt, a red tie, and a beige trench coat can hardly be called the costume, but that is Constantine's signature look. Besides, not every costume has to be spandex or leather, and Constantine's comic book costume was successfully transferred to the small screen. Whichever way you look at it, Constantine is one of Arrowverse's best-looking characters. White Canary. Sara, the Undying Lance, also known as the White Canary, is one of the most amazing Arrowverse characters. The current captain of the Legends is a force to be reckoned with, something that both her teammates and enemies can attest to. As of 2013, since Sara's surprising return from the dead, the character is portrayed by Katie Lotz. Upon her rebirth, Sara donned on a black leather costume and took to the streets of Starling City as the Canary. However, after her second resurrection, she was recruited by Rip Hunter as his time-traveling team. Sara traded in her all-black suit for a white one and took on the name White Canary. Over the course of 3 years, there have been 2 different versions of White Canary's suit. Her first outfit had a high halted neckline and occasionally she'd throw on the white coat. The costume designer clearly observed the comic book design and extrapolated from there. Sara's second White Canary costume took on a somewhat of a different look, with exposed cleavage and more form-fitting design. The dirty white effect has also been replaced with a silver-white shade. While the second outfit doesn't look bad, the first one was more faithful to the comics.
Hey nerds, if you like this video, go ahead and click that geek what icon and subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, join me every Tuesday where you can check out the list.